How's it going, guys? We're going to review the NASCAR race at Kansas that just happened. Really late upload, so sorry about that, but the race did end very late. I'll try to get to basically everything that happened in the race, everything that I could think of, and obviously some very obvious incidents, and with the Eric Almirola incident, so we'll get to that. Hopefully he's okay. And then the end of the race as well, so let's just get right to it. So, in my opinion, this race, it did break the record for cautions, I think, at a Kansas race, so it had a lot of wrecks and a lot of incidents. I think it was actually a really good race. That I could be, thinking, when the race did get in the long runs, it was a little bit dull, but I feel like the racing at Kansas has gotten a lot better, with the asphalt slowly wearing out and the repave becoming less and less of a problem. So the racing's actually pretty good. The restarts were absolutely hectic. Every restart you would see from the aerial view, 3 wide, 4 wide, 5 wide sometimes, heading into turn 1. It was complete chaos. And guys like Ryan Blaney, Truex, Kyle Busch, Kevin Harvick, they were always kind of up there in the front. And yeah, it was a really good race in my opinion. Stage 1, we had a lot of issues. On pit road. Loose wheels, penalties, an incident between Chase Elliott, I think it was Michael McDowell, where it pretty much knocked Chase Elliott out of the race, making him go like 8 laps down. Jimmy Johnson had a couple of penalties. Brad Keselowski had a couple of penalties. I don't know, I think even Joey Logano had a penalty or something. It was a weird race when it comes down to pit road. A lot of penalties that included driving through too many pit boxes. So basically, you can only go through a certain amount of pit boxes before you reach your pit box. You're not allowed to go through like 3 pit boxes before you get to yours. And Jimmy got caught for that, and I think Brad Keselowski got caught for that. Dale Earnhardt Jr. had a couple of issues on pit road. I think Danica Patrick got caught speeding on pit road. So interesting night on pit road. A lot of penalties. In the end, Kyle Busch would win stage 1. And the end of the stages were not exciting, so I don't have any video of it. The end of the stages were just kind of, normal kind of racing. Kyle wins stage 1, and that was pretty much it for that. Stage 2 went to Ryan Blaney, and I got to give a shout out to Ryan Blaney tonight. He was very, very good. He qualified on the pole. That first pit stall was just huge for him, and he did very well. And you could see with guys like Larson and Blaney and Chase Elliott that the sport's in good hands. Ryan Blaney, he had the white gloves in the cockpit, so you could see when he gets loose or something. You can see him really fight the wheel, and I love that during night races. I love when a driver wears white gloves. It's just awesome because you can see straight through the windshield. You can see how hard they're working inside the car. Usually you can't see that in day races, but in night races you can really see it. Blaney was fighting that car pretty much all night, driving the wheels off the thing. He was amazing tonight. Obviously, the big incident of the night was Eric Almirola's crash. So what happened was Joey Logano was entering turn 1 and something broke. It was a rotor or something. You could see it on the right front of the car. Something breaks and it turns left. I do think it was a rotor because of what Jeff Gordon even said on the broadcast. When you break a rotor, you're basically still braking the car. You're still using front brake. When the right front brake rotor breaks, you have no right front brakes, obviously, so you're using left front brake. When you have left front brake only, your car is going to turn left because you're using that left front brake. So that's what I think turned the car dead hard left into Danica Patrick. Danica was upset, and she had a right to be. She's obviously not having a lot of fun this season with the issues she's had not being fast and all, but I think it was a little excessive, in my opinion. She obviously doesn't know. Her crew didn't know either, so no one could tell her that, hey, Logano had a mechanical issue. Obviously, Logano wouldn't. No one would turn hard left. That's a very dangerous hit, and you can see what happens. Eric Almirola was about 10 spots back, and he just lost control of the car entering the corner. It was weird. He maybe ran over something. Maybe when Danica's car hit the wall and slid across, maybe the fire or some oil got in that top lane, because the second he entered the corner, he went into this slide, and that usually happens when there's like oil or something on the track that's not supposed to happen. He goes in this slide, the car hits, I think it was Logano and Danica, and pops up. Obviously, he was in a lot of pain. He had to get, it took about 20 minutes. They had to cut the car, cut the roof, get the roof off the car, and carefully bring him out. He was conscious. He was talking to officials. He was alert, awake, everything like that. Apparently on the radio, he screamed about his back. And it is understandable because when the car jumps up like that and comes back down, you're putting all... The best way I could explain it is imagine if you've jumped off a 20-foot cliff or like a 3-story building or something, and when you land, your entire body compresses, and that's why you break a leg or you break something. When the car landed, even though it doesn't look that serious on TV, when the car lands like that, the back of the car comes back down, it compresses his back, and something had to happen there. Obviously, it's very rare for injuries to happen in NASCAR nowadays. We had the Kyle Busch incident, I think it was 2 years ago now, but we had that incident, and it still happens. It's a remembrance that racing is always so dangerous, and no matter how safe these cars are, and they're absolute gems in safety, it's injuries and possible really bad scenarios can still happen, and you got to always think about that. And this is why NASCAR will continue to think about safety first before they really think about anything else. So hopefully Eric Almirola is okay. There's no word yet on his condition. It is midnight. I've not heard anything. All I know is that on the radio he screamed at his back. So that's all I know. He had to get stretchered out of the car and went to a local hospital. That's all I know. So really all you guys could do, all we could do is just kind of pray that he's all right. And I mean, it's not a big deal right now. Obviously, there's much bigger things going on, but it looks like he'll be out of the car for a while. So it's very unfortunate for him. And it's very unfortunate how the wreck happened. And obviously, NASCAR will take all the parts. They asked for every single part of that wreck that was debris to be put in the NASCAR hauler. They're going to go back and study that thing 100% to see how they can make the car safer. So it'll all be an experiment that will be worked on for probably years to come, and hopefully we can make the car safer. Back to the race, we ended up with a lot of cautions throughout. I got to give a shout out to Eric Jones. He spun out like 5 times this week. He spun out twice in practice. He spun out twice coming off turn 2 in the race, and then spun out coming out turn... Well, he didn't spin out. He got turned by Ty Dillon at the end to spin out there, but 5 times he spun and didn't hit anything. That's amazing. So Eric Jones had a hell of a weekend. Jimmie Johnson, he went up and down, up and down. What am I saying? As I said earlier in the video, he basically had a lot of penalties and just weird stuff. He had I think a flat tire, a left rear tire that went down. Had a pit, lost a lap, got the lap back. Was in 5th. And then Denny Hamlin tried going 3 wide on Kurt Busch and Jimmy. Kurt blocked Hamlin high and then came back down low, and Hamlin was already there. So Kurt comes down on Hamlin, and Jimmy's just there as a bystander, and Jimmy gets turned. Doesn't hit anything, but he's had just a crazy night. Unfortunately, doesn't get the finish. Another shout out, I would say Michael McDowell. He finished 13th. So even though he had the incident with Chase Elliott early in the race, he didn't sustain that much damage, and he finished 13th for that 95 team, which is really good. Trevor Baynes in the top 10. I want to give a shout out to him. And Casey Kane as well. Casey Kane ran really well all night. He didn't get the finish he deserved, but he was there around 7th or 6th all night, and I think that was really impressive. He had to come from the back, and then he had to come from the back again after having a pit road issue or pitting or whatever it was. So like I said, there were so many pit road issues, I can't even think of all of them. But a lot of good runs tonight by drivers that don't have good runs every week. So in light of the news of the Eric Almirola thing, it's kind of hard to talk about the race, but there were some good runs tonight. In the end, there were a couple of restarts. It was really between Ryan Blaney and Martin Truex Jr. And Ryan Blaney's car was really getting loose at the end. You could really see it, like I said, with the white gloves. You could see him working the car. And Truex just had the faster car. Truex goes ahead to win the race. It took a couple of restarts, though. It took a lot of work, but he did it. And that 78 team, just the last 2 years, it's been really fast, and one of the favorites for the championship. If I had to pick favorites of the championship right now, I mean, you have to go with the 78, the 2 Penske cars. Kyle Busch looks strong, even though he hasn't won yet, but he looks strong. And Jimmie Johnson will always be a favorite, so you got to put them in there. Those are my favorites right now for the championship. They all look really good. Maybe guys like Chase Elliott, Kyle Larson, Ryan Blaney, maybe they can get in there. But right now it's been a very open season. It's been there's not an outright dominant team. I think the fastest car is Truex, but there's not a outright dominant team, you know? Because at the beginning of the season it was mostly Kyle Larson, and now it's kind of transferred to Truex. But there's no outright dominance. We have to wait till we get to that chase, or it's not called the chase anymore, the playoffs, and see who really hits the strides. But all these playoff points that Truex is gaining right now is very important. I think he has the most playoff points at the moment. Just a reminder, those playoff points carry. They carry through all 3 rounds. So you can advance through the first 3 races, and you'll keep the playoff points that will carry over to the second round If you advance through the second round, you'll keep playoff points and carry over to the third round. So you always have an advantage if you have playoff points. Got to think about that. So Truex right now is putting his bid in for the Homestead race. He already's building a great cushion to get through the first 9 races to get to the last race and hopefully fight for a championship. One more shout out, Daniel Suarez finished 7th, I think it is. Yes, 7th. Really good finish for the rookie. I'm liking what I'm seeing from Daniel Suarez. He's starting to build into the ride. He's starting to kind of grow into it. Why did I say build? He's starting to grow into the ride. It's really starting to become his ride. He's starting to get used to that team. Remember, he's going to some of these tracks where he's never been in a sprint car before, and it's difficult to go to a track in a different car and run as well as your teammates. He's doing that lately. That's very nice to see of him, so hopefully Daniel Suarez can keep it up. Guys, if you like the video, make sure to hit that like button. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe. Hopefully you're having a great day. Prayers up for Eric Almirola. Hopefully he's okay. I'll see you guys later. Peace out.